I'm Andrea Giles, and you're listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, episode number 71, Untangling with Aimeé Gianni. Hello, and welcome to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, where courageous women learn not only to heal from their spouse's betrayal, but to become the boldest, truest, most decisive, and confident versions of themselves ever. If you know there's more for you than the life you're currently living, but don't quite know how to get there, you are in the right place. Stick around to learn how to create a life that will knock your own socks off. Is it possible? It is, and I'm here to show you how. I'm your host, Andrea Giles. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 71. This episode was so fun to record. I'm going to be playing it for you here in a little bit. It had lots of good stuff in it. I love Aimeé's way of teaching things, explaining things. I think every single one of you can relate to the content in this episode. And I'll be turning it over to the interview in just a minute. But I wanted to hop on here and tell you that my little girl made her debut this past week. She was born on November 30th and was born at 10:28 p.m. 10:28 p.m. and weighed in at 7 pounds, 14 ounces, 21 inches long. She's perfect. Her name is Finley Jane Giles, and she's beautiful and wonderful, and we're all completely in love with her. I will be talking more about some of the things that have been on my mind in regards to her birth, in regards to all of you, in regards to some of the thoughts that I want to share with you about all of this growth in my own life and how just some thoughts I want to share. I'm going to do that next week. You're going to hear more about my experience and how it applies to you next week. So for now, I want to go ahead and turn the podcast over to the interview with me and Aimeé. I hope you enjoy it, and I will be back next week with more. All right, take care, everybody. Hello, everybody. I am here with fellow coach and good friend and therapist, Aimeé Gianni. And today she's going to be talking to you about something called untangling. She is the person who introduced me to untangling, to this concept. And so I thought it would be perfect to have her on to talk more in depth about what it is, what it looks like in your relationships, and what you can do about it and how to untangle. So I'm going to ask Aimeé here to give an introduction. Aimeé, will you tell us who you are, and welcome to the show?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk about this. It's one of my favorite topics, as you know.
Yes.
So I am a marriage and family therapist and have been for over 25 years. That always makes me
25
really
years.
When I say that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm also a master certified coach. And so I work in the therapy world. I work in the coaching world. And I've just worked with individuals and couples for a really, really long time on all sorts of different issues. And so, yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. So Aimeé is one of my mentors that I've learned so much from. I'm actually wrapping up an advanced certification where I've learned from Aimeé and her sister, Molly, and have learned so much from her. And so I wanted to have her on so she can share her genius and expertise with you about this topic, because it's a really important one, and one that I see in many, many of my clients, and one that I recognize in myself in at times in my life. So we're going to be talking about untangling. So let's just dive in. Aimeé, will you tell us what untangling is? What is it?
Yes. So let me tell you kind of how I came to this. I would work with couples, and they would come in and they'd say, they wanted to be more connected. They wanted to be closer. They were, arguing a lot. And as I'd start working with them, they think that they weren't connected, but actually they were very connected, but just in an unhealthy way, right? With a lot of, arguing and problems and blaming each other. And it just seemed like they were really tangled up, and they really didn't know what they were responsible for, what their partner was responsible for, all the blaming. And I found that what we had to do before we could work on helping them have a positive connection, we almost had to like pause and help untangle the dysfunction and the negative connection that they had with each other. So that's what I think of when I think of untangling. It's really sorting through and looking at the problems, right? So I'll say, like, if you have like, a drawer where you put two, like, there's string in there or something, or two balls of yarn, right? And they've just gotten all tangled up with each other. And it's hard to know like what belongs to which one. And you have to go through and just kind of carefully untangle it. And so that's what I would do with couples. And it's really teaching them, which I know you talk about, taking responsibility for your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, right?
Yep.
And it's helping them see that, because so often we blame other people for our emotions, right?
Yep.
Or we take responsibility for others' emotions when we don't need to do that.
Yes.
And so that's really the process of untangling, is helping people see, okay, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings? What are your actions? That's what you're responsible for. And you're not responsible for your spouses.
Perfect. Thank you. I love that. I have to say, a couple of weeks ago, I was coaching one of my clients, and I talk about this concept, to talk about becoming untangled. And the next week she came to the call and she goes, you know what I realized? It's not yarn. It's barbed wire fence. It's barbed wire. Like sometimes it can feel that way.
Yes. That's
like you're, like carefully pulling things apart without cutting your hand. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
It made me laugh though. It made me laugh. Anyway, so tell me this, how do we get tangled? Where does that come from?
Yes. Such a good question. I think it comes from, we grow up with the idea of romance and that we're going to get married. And if we just find the right person, they're going to complete us, or, somehow we're not whole as we are, but we're like two halves of a whole. And so you come together, and then when you get married, that your partner is going to make you happy, or that it's your job to make your partner happy. And I think that's a lot of where it comes from, right? Because we see that in movies, we hear that and we take that in. And then we get married and we put that's a huge job to put on your spouse, right?
Yes.
Now that we're married, it's your job to make me happy all the time. And if I'm upset, to fix that. So I think that's part of where it comes from. And the other thing, I think, when we're little and our parents are like, oh, don't be mean. You don't want to hurt someone else's feelings, right? Yep. So we start thinking we're responsible for others' feelings. And that's a good thing to teach your kids, right? You want to teach them to be nice. But I think the higher version of that with children is to teach them, who do you want to be? Do you want to be the kid that says something that's not very nice to people? Or do you want to be the kid that is kind and polite to others, right? So you're still teaching them the same concept, but it's more for them looking at who they are and who they want to be in the world, as opposed to trying to figure out how they're going to behave according to other people, right?
Yeah. I love that. You talking about that just took me way back to the very beginning of my first marriage. Okay. 1997, I want to say. Yeah. 97. And I remember that my first husband he would be walking out the door trying to go to school, and he couldn't find his hat, and he'd get all worked up and all anxious and agitated. Where is it? And I remember taking that on, and because I had this thought that it was my responsibility to keep my spouse happy, and to know where things were, and to keep an orderly home so that he could always find his hat. And so then I felt it as this failing on my part that he couldn't find his hat.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. That's such a good example. That is being tangled, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I didn't know. I thought that was my job. I thought that was my wifely thing, was to take it on and be upset with him and take on that responsibility. Right.
Yeah. Yes. And we have so much programming and so much of it that we're really not even aware of. Yeah. Right. That we just take on, we kind of absorb it from our environment. And even though, nobody in your life, I'm sure, told you, hey, if your husband can't find his hat, it's your job to find it. Right. No one said that to you, but there's just so much programming around us that we take it in, and then that's what we make it mean. Yeah.
Yep. We take it on. Yep. exactly. Thank you. Yeah, I think you're right that I think it starts well before marriage, right? For a
Yes.
lot of people. Like it can start really young actually. And
Mhm.
then we just are living what has been modeled or living what we have thought is the right way to do things. And then it just becomes a bigger and bigger tangled mess, right?
Yes, exactly.
Basically. Okay. So can you give us, you've worked with lots and lots of people over the years. I want to give my listeners some examples of what it looks like in marriage. What does it look
Yes.
like? How can my clients and listeners recognize if they are entangled?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Let's talk about some specifics. So
Okay.
I also think when we're talking about untangling, I think anytime you're over functioning or under functioning, that's entanglement, right? Yeah. And what that looks like, I mean, even just going back to feelings. So, like you just gave a perfect example, it's thinking that you have to solve something for your spouse that's really his to solve,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's over functioning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Now, let's say you never said that he blamed you, but let's just add to the story that he was blaming you. Like, where's my hat? Why don't you know where my hat is? Right.
Mm-hmm.
That would be him under functioning and expecting you to take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are some examples of not only entanglement, but over functioning and under functioning.
Perfect.
So it's really just any time that you're not owning your own feelings, that you're blaming your feelings on someone else or thinking, if, my spouse would just do this, I could feel differently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So can you give some more examples? I'd love some more examples of people that you have worked with, things that you have seen, patterns you have seen, issues that you have seen come up over and over again. You've probably seen some patterns with people where entanglement comes up. I'd love to hear some of those from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about moodiness. Sometimes people are moody, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And it's really easy to blame your spouse for your mood, or if you're in a bad mood, or think that your spouse should be able to read your mind and know exactly what they're supposed to do when you are in a bad mood. Now, the thing is we all have ups and downs, right? We're all going to have times when we're not in the greatest mood.
Yep.
But I think the thing that the way that you can differentiate between like unhealthy and entangled versus a healthy way of dealing with it is, do you communicate about it? Right. So if I'm in a bad mood and I come home and I can say to my husband, you know what, I'm really stressed out right now. I'm not in a very good mood. I'm so sorry. This isn't about you. I love you. I just need some time. So I'm going to kind of go be by myself and deal with this, right? That would be me taking responsibility and not blaming him for it, but yet communicating to him, right? So it's also not me sulking and just kind of locking myself in my room. And so that he's wondering like, what the heck's going on with her, right?
Yeah. Yep. I love that.
I think that's one way that I see it show up is with moodiness. And then I think it can show up in almost any area, whether it's children, finances, because I mean, the fact of the matter is when you're married, you're going to have a division of labor. You're going to have people, one person that takes responsibility in certain areas and the other takes responsibility in other areas, because you don't just do everything together. Although I remember when I first got married thinking that we were just going to do everything together. We do the money together. We go grocery shopping together, right?
All together all the time.
All the time. And then you get married and you're like, okay, this is not efficient. This is not going to work, right?
Yeah, right.
So you kind of divide and conquer so you can like get the work done. And then like when you actually get to be together, you can have fun together.
Yep.
And so you're going to have a division of labor. That's not the problem. The problem is when the power dynamic gets thrown off, right? And so if one person's handling the money, but the other person feels like they have no say in the money, or one person's earning the money, right? And so the other person feels like, they can't ask for anything, they can't spend anything. So the power dynamic gets thrown off, and then it's not collaborative. Right?
Love it. Yep.
Yeah. We want to have collaborative relationships. Those are equal relationships. And again, it doesn't mean equal in that you're doing the exact same things, but it's equal in that you're collaborative and you both get to have a say in things, and you both can talk about things. You both can access the money. You both take responsibility for the children. Now you may have one that's primarily responsible for, if you have a stay-at-home parent, that's home with the kids. They're going to be more involved, right?
Right.
In the day-to-day stuff, which is fine. But again, it's that power dynamic.
Yep. Perfect. I want to go back to the mood thing because I think that so many of us have this belief or had this belief that you grow up, you get married, you know, you live happily ever after, you be happy together. And that if you like check these boxes, it's going to look this way and you'll just be happy. And then we find that sometimes we're not happy, right?
Find out that none of that's true.
Yes. Or that our spouse is not happy. And then we often make it mean something about ourselves. Well, I must be failing. I must not be doing a good enough job as a wife because he would be happy if I was.
Yes.
Right.
Totally.
And I think men feel this too. I think it goes both ways for men and women. Like, my wife's not happy. I need to go fix it immediately.
Right.
Right.
Yes. And that's that over functioning, right?
Yeah.
That's taking responsibility for stuff that's not your responsibility.
Yep. Yeah. Even if the thing is, like, even if, like, let's say that somebody is upset about something the spouse did, okay, that they are involved in it, it's still ours to own. Like, it's right. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I'm upset about something that my husband has done, and that's why I'm in a mood, right? Being entangled, I would blame him and say, well, he did this and he caused me to feel this way, as opposed to me taking responsibility for, okay, yeah, he did that. Okay, what am I thinking about that? How am I feeling? How do I want to think and feel about this? And just kind of owning my own experience and what I'm making it mean. Because you're right. A lot of times we make it mean something about us, right? When it really has nothing to do with us.
Yep. Yeah. And I do think that there are times where it's good judgment. It can be good judgment to see where I'm actually not okay with this thing, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But those conversations are not going to go down real well from a place of blame.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
It's still owning, I'm not okay with this, and owning it.
Right.
And then going and communicating it.
Yes.
And it comes off a lot different.
Yeah. From a place of taking responsibility, right? There's that shift of, rather than blaming, owning it, and then being able to say, yeah, this isn't okay with me, this thing that you did, right? Like specifically speaking about infidelity, because I know that that's what your podcast is about, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's not to say that you're just supposed to change your thinking and how you feel and just be okay with anything. Not at all. Right. But if you're blaming, you're not able to sort out your own thoughts and feelings about it. And that's what's important, because then that's when you can feel empowered, when you're like, okay, this is what I think about this.
Yes.
Here's how I feel about it. Because then it's clean, right? It's not muddled and dirty. Like when you're entangled, it's the water is just muddied.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or we're seeing something from the point of view of the other person. Like trying to evaluate and going, well, I think this is how I feel. Oh, but he says this and this and this about this thing. And so maybe I should just be more this or that. And like trying to own their feelings, right? Trying to own their experience, their feelings. Well, he was really hurt as a child and he this and this and this, and making excuses for their behavior. And if I'm understanding correctly, it sounds like, setting that down, letting that person own what is theirs, and then deciding yourself what you want to think and feel about it.
Yes, 100%. Because if you are engaging in all those things you said, right? Like, oh, he was hurt as a child and this and that, and you're taking that on, then the spouse doesn't even have the opportunity necessarily to take that and face it, right? Because you're doing it for him or her.
Yeah. Like robbing them of it, essentially.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to ask you now, how do we begin the process of untangling? You talked about separating out your own thoughts and feelings from somebody else's, right? Yes. What else would you say about that? Like, what else can people do? Day-to-day practice, to kind of sort out their side of things.
Yes. I mean, anytime anything happens, just pulling back to yourself of, okay, what do I think? What do I feel? And acting from that place. And I know that sounds kind of simple, but it's not.
Yeah.
right? And
Easier said than done too,
yes,
sometimes.
exactly.
Yeah.
But going through that again and again, because I'll talk about the sorting process. It's like you've got this like pile of stuff, all these thoughts and feelings and emotions and responsibility. And you want to go through everything one by one and be, okay, what's mine to own and what's my spouse's to own? And you're probably going to notice a pattern because usually there's an overfunctioner and an underfunctioner.
Yep.
And the roles can flip flop in different areas in the marriage, but really going through that and sorting it out, what is mine, and then responsibly dealing with what is yours, whether it's expressing that to your spouse, right? Having a meaningful conversation about it, or you dealing with it yourself. Because sometimes, let's face it, there are things that are just ours to own and deal with on our own, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
It would be much easier if we could hand it off to somebody else, right?
Right. Yeah.
You fix this.
We want to blame because
yeah,
we think that it feels so much better to be able to blame someone else. But the truth is, when we stop blaming and take responsibility ourselves, that's where all of our freedom is. Right?
Yes.
Because if we're not responsible for something or in charge of something, we have no way to change it or no power over it.
Yep.
But if we can take responsibility, then we have all of our power back.
Yep. It's good news, right?
Yes, it is good news, even though it doesn't seem like it at first.
Yeah. Right. Right. But it's like, okay, I'm in this mess. And instead of feeling like I just have to sit here in this mess, I can see how I can help myself out of it.
Yes.
Without waiting for somebody else to do it for me.
Yes.
That's like beating your head against a brick wall, right? Like the same thing over and over again, waiting for somebody else to change, waiting for somebody else to come fix it. And then, dying in the process, right?
Yes. Waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yeah.
And you just feel powerless and hopeless. And it's really easy to get into victim thinking.
Yep.
Right.
And depression and all kinds of things. Yeah.
All
feeling
of it.
Depressed. Yeah.
So really owning it helps. And, along these lines, always just taking a good look in the mirror. And nobody really likes to do that.
Nope.
Right? But thinking about, sometimes I'll ask my clients to think about, what is it like to be married to you? Like,
that's such a good question
from your spouse's perspective. And I'll say, don't go ask your spouse, right? You should have a pretty good idea. But what do you think it would be like to be married to you? What are the things that you contribute that are amazing? And where are the areas where you're not so amazing, right? Because that's what we don't want to see. But that's the first step really in this untangling, is being willing to look at some of the ugly in the mirror and own that, take responsibility for it, and make those changes.
Yep. I love it. I love it.
Then is that step that leads you to showing up the way that you want to.
Yeah.
Because once you see those pieces and you work on them, then you can really focus on showing up the way you want to in the marriage. And it doesn't mean you have to stay. You may still choose to leave, but at least you're happy with how you are showing up before you make that decision.
Yeah. So one shift that while you're talking, that I can see is like, I feel like when you're entangled, you're so consumed with what the other person is thinking and feeling and how you can kind of dodge certain emotions and dodge, I can't have that conversation because he'll feel this way and then I'll have to feel this way. Right.
Right.
And so we just do a lot of avoiding and tiptoeing. And I think part of entanglement is where our brain shifts from so much focus being on them and like trying to manage their experience with you or with the world, and shifting it to the focus on you, and not in a selfish way, right? Like the question that you asked is like, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Instead of like, how do I, keep the peace, and all those questions where we're trying to basically control somebody else, right? Micromanage so we don't have to feel certain things. And instead, who do I want to be, and showing up in that way, and then letting the chips fall where they may, right?
Yes, exactly. Like what you're talking about is manipulate, right? When we're like walking on eggshells, and we don't think of it as being manipulative because we think we're trying to do something right by keeping the peace.
Yeah.
Right. But when we're always like, okay, how can I tiptoe around this? Or what's the right timing for this? When do I ask about this? Right. It just facilitates that unhealthy dynamic, right? Where you're not showing up as yourself. But then there is a risk that when you do show up and maybe ask for something that you want or bring up a topic, you want to have a discussion, you've got to be okay with your spouse having negative emotion.
Yep.
Right.
And not owning it. Yeah.
Yes. And not taking responsibility for it. Yeah. Because as long as you are clean about it, meaning you bring it up in a kind way, you may be bringing up a difficult subject, but if you've thought through it and you've taken responsibility for your thoughts and feelings about it, and you bring it up in a loving way, that's all you can do. Right. And then they might have negative feelings. They might be upset, but that's okay.
Yep.
And it makes me think about differentiation. Right? When you're well differentiated, you are able to do that and not make their emotion mean something about you.
Yeah. I think too, something that's just so amazing and such an amazing result from doing this work is that this is where real intimacy lies, right? Where really knowing each other, really knowing each other, and not this version that we have, that we've crafted to look a certain way. Right.
Yes.
And it is in those conversations, the tension, sometimes the saying the things, right. Where that's where real intimacy is born. Right.
Yes, exactly. Because that's honest.
It's honest.
Right? And the only way to have true intimacy is with honesty.
Yep.
Honesty. I always say it's the most intimate thing you can do, but it's not always
pleasant.
Yeah. Sometimes honesty is painful.
Yes.
But it's the road to true intimacy and collaboration.
Yep.
And so when you're on eggshells and tiptoeing around and keeping the peace, it's easy to think, well, I don't want to, say something because then it's going to rock the boat. But sometimes you have to rock the boat to get to the next place. So the longer that you're hiding and tiptoeing on eggshells, you're not being honest.
Yep. Exactly.
So it's actually inhibiting. You think you're doing something good by keeping the peace, but it's actually inhibiting true connection and intimacy.
It's not moving things forward. Right. Yes. Thank you. Okay. So I think we're going to wind down here, but I have one more question for you. Maybe two questions.
Yeah.
So one question is for my listeners who are doing this work, who are doing the work of untangling, what can they expect to feel while they're doing this? And we touched on it a little bit, but I want to hear more specifically how do they know they're doing it right?
Going to feel terrible.
Yes, such good news.
Yeah, such great news. It's going to be hard, right? Because we talked about that, looking in the mirror at yourself and being willing to see, wow, this is some ugly stuff that I bring, right?
Yeah.
So that's never going to feel good. But once you face it, that gives you, like we were talking about, right? You take your power back, and it gives you this opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
And even though growth is not pleasant, once you get there, right? As you go through it, not that we ever complete the growth process, right? But as you move forward, things do improve and they feel so much better. And you'll just start to feel more like yourself, more empowered. And then you'll be able to make decisions, wise decisions.
Yeah.
Because things will start to become clear for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And the other thing I think when you ask that question, what can they expect to feel? I think of when couples come in and they're really connected, but in this kind of tangled, dysfunctional way. As we start to untangle them, sometimes they feel less connected initially, right? Because, they're arguing and their dysfunctional patterns were at least connecting them.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So when they start letting go of some of that, sometimes they're like, well, now I feel more distant because now I am owning all of this and taking responsibility for myself, and I'm not taking responsibility for him, but now we're not connected. But then that's the perfect place. They're ready to start doing the work of intimacy and bringing them back together. But
I love
sometimes
that.
I warn them about that. You might feel a little more distant before you actually start feeling connected in a healthy way.
Yep. I love it. That's so important. So important. Yeah. It doesn't mean something has gone wrong, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think that something that often can come along for this ride is fear, maybe some anxiousness about when you start showing up and really giving more attention to how you think and feel and communicating what is true for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's risky, right?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
risky. You're showing up in a different way and they might not like it and might
Yeah.
give some pushback and go, wait, what happened? Let's go back. Right.
Yeah. Where
And
did you go?
where'd you go? Yes. And it can
Yeah.
feel, I think that's a great point, that it can feel more unconnected, disconnected, but it's clearing out all of the space, right? All the
Right.
space to come back together.
Yeah. For that honest, intimate
Yeah.
relationship.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like thinking about, in with the analogy of yarn, right? You've got these
Mm-hmm.
two balls of yarn that are just this mess that we've all seen, these big
Mm-hmm.
messes of yarn, and you pull them apart and that's where you can feel disconnected, but then you're intentionally making this beautiful tapestry together. You're like
Yes.
intentionally, this is what I choose to put in. This is what I choose to put in to build and create something that's beautiful.
Yeah. Exactly. And if you have a willing spouse, now not everybody will, right? Sometimes you just do this work on your own.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a willing spouse, I loved Brene Brown's idea of sitting on the same side of the table.
Yeah.
Right. And looking at it, because you can sit on the same side of the table with your spouse and be like, wow, look at this tangled mess of what we've created here.
Yes. Look at that.
Let's start to untangle this. Gosh, I really see that I've contributed this. What do you think you've contributed, and have that discussion? Now, you have to be a fairly healthy couple in order to have a discussion like that, right?
Right.
Or just be facilitated by a therapist or a coach. But ideally, that's what you want to do, because then you can come together and create something beautiful with intention.
Yep. I love it. Okay. My last question for you. So my podcast is about infidelity, as you know, right?
Yes.
And for many of my listeners and many of my clients, they are taking steps towards this. And sometimes their spouse is just unwilling. They don't want to. They don't want to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to self-confront. And my listeners or clients go, what now? What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
What's your answer to that?
Yeah. So it's tough because, again, that's that waiting, right? It's like, if I just do enough work myself, then they're going to start self-confronting, right? They're going to do this. And so it's that waiting and it's that hoping. At some point, right? You just have to own your life and own your choice for whatever that is. And that's a hard place to be.
Yep.
Right? Because we think if we just do enough, if I could just do more, if I just do the right things, if I just, whatever the thing is, right? Mm-hmm. Then my spouse will change, or they'll get on board, or they'll want to self-confront, but they don't always do that.
Yep.
Right. Sometimes one person making the change does, because it will change the dynamic. And sometimes that's enough to change it so that your spouse will get on board, but not always.
Yeah. Yep. There are times when they just don't want to, where they just opt out and don't want to. Right.
Yes. At which point you just have a choice to make.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. And that was my situation, in my first marriage, is he just didn't want to. He wanted to do his thing, and I had a choice to make. Right. And sometimes either we don't want to, or there's, I don't know, lots of different reasons why people choose not to. Right.
Yeah.
But
there's so much fear.
Yes. There's so much fear, all those things. But the thing that I think is really important to note is that even if we can understand logically why it might be really scary for somebody to do this work, we don't have to take responsibility for that, because it's still their choice. They can still choose, right? Yes. We can understand it. We can have compassion for them and go, yeah, I'm sure they're terrified. I'm sure they, we can understand it, but we don't have to own it.
No, you don't have to own it. And it's okay if they don't want to do the work. Honestly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Because
it's okay. They don't have to. Yeah. They don't have to. And we still get to choose.
Yep.
Right.
Always. Yes. And I think the more distant you can get from the emotion of it, because I think that's what keeps people stuck and entangled, is when there is so much emotion around it, which of course there's going to be emotion in a marriage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of feeling and emotion there, but when you can get a little bit of distance from it and really see it as a choice and kind of let go of right and wrong, because I think when we get stuck looking for like, what's the right thing to do? I don't want to do the wrong thing. That just keeps people stuck even more.
Yep. Exactly. Like so much fear around that. Right.
Yes. People just get frozen.
Yeah.
To where they just, won't move because they're so afraid that they're going to choose wrong, quote unquote.
Yep.
And then they just stay stuck.
Yep. Okay. So to wrap this up, I want to ask you, Aimeé, if you have anything else to add, anything else you'd like to say to my listeners.
I would just tell them that this work is worth doing. It's not fun. It's difficult, but it's worth it because it's just going to move you forward. And hopefully it will have a positive impact on your relationship. But whether you stay, whether you go, you get to take your growth with you no matter what. Right?
Yep.
It's freestanding. And so you get to be this new, better version of yourself in the marriage. If you choose to stay and if you choose to leave, you will be this new, better version of yourself out of the marriage.
Yep.
But it's worth it. I think that our life is all about progression and growth, and it's always worth it.
Yep. I love it. And I will add something to that. Many people who I work with, the decision was made for them, or the spouse left the marriage to be with somebody else. And they're left there going, what happened? And they're in this tangled mess, trying to sort out what happened to their marriage. And that person is not there to sort it out with. And I would say what I've seen so many times is doing this work for yourself. It's so powerful because you're still keeping yourself stuck if you don't, right? Yes. If you're still taking on responsibility for things that are not yours to carry, if you're still blaming, if you're still feeling, disempowered, like a victim, things like that, you're still keeping yourself really tangled up. And so for any listeners who are not currently in a relationship, this is for you as well, because you get to go back and you can still do the sorting and really decide what was mine, what was his, and we can return to sender.
Yes, I love it.
A big ball of yarn just for them.
That's right. Yeah. And the other reason it's so worth it to do this work is because when we don't do this work, we're just going to repeat what we've already done, right?
Yes.
So if you're not in a relationship, you want to do this work so that when you have a new relationship, you don't end up just repeating the same cycle.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. It's worth it no matter what situation you're in. It's worth doing. And often, as we said before, we're not talking about just marriage stuff. We're talking often about lifetime stuff, like where we've been tangled, and it's important work no matter where you are. So thank you so much, Aimeé. I would love for you to tell my listeners how they can learn more from you, how they could work with you, the different things you offer.
Yeah. So you can go to my website. It's aimeegianni.com, and Aimee's AIMEE. And I work with couples, individuals. I'm getting ready to start a small intimate group. So you can go to my website. You can follow me on Instagram. It's Aimeé Gianni MS. Or if you are a coach and want to learn more about how to coach on relationships, I do offer an advanced relationship training through the Coaching Collective. So you can go to thecoachingcollective.com and learn about that.
Yes. And I've done that training and it's amazing. It's so, so good.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for being here and letting us learn from you. And we'll have you on another time.
Yeah, I would love to come back. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast. If you would like to be kept in the know about upcoming free classes, new podcast episodes, and other ways of working with me, go subscribe to my weekly email. You can subscribe at AndreaGiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. Again, it's AndreaGiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. I will see you next time.